So I've been studying Islam for a while now, and I thought I should address how Islam has helped me. And a lot of people have said about Islam that it really oppresses women because of the veil, and it's patriarchal. So I thought I'd give an American example of why I find Islam so appealing, and why I think there's a lot of truth in Islam concerning how you can protect yourself from the male gaze, and how exhaustive the male gaze can be, and how detrimental that can be to one's psychology. This will be a sort of more of a discussion for the mature audience. It's not really for like the teeny bops. This is for like just normal people in their 20s and beyond. So keep that in mind. So let's talk about it. Now, this is off the cuff, this isn't scripted, and I'm going to do probably more. So if it repeats, forgive me. So, growing up, I spent a lot of time perfecting the arts of the sheets, let's put it that way, to make it really PG-13. And I focused solely just on that. Was a lot of my time was just finding ways in order to make someone else completely satisfied as if I was some professional, and not really focusing on my inner soul and happiness. My body was absolutely perfect. I had looks, I had everything, and each moment when I would engage in said activities, I felt dead inside. And I'd have to have a beer, or I'd have to, smoke a blunt in order to get through it, right? I had to take my brain into another reality so that I could get any sort of satisfaction. I had to stimulate my brain in order to perform like some actor in said activity, even though the person who's receiving everything is their mind is completely blown and they're just obsessed and totally happy and living out some fantasy. I myself didn't really feel much of anything. And a lot of people deny this fact. Hypersexual women, right? We deny this fact. We pretend that we don't feel weird when it's over. We pretend that we don't feel a sort of weirdness when we leave that person's apartment, or we take a shower after. We know how awkward it is when you first go in the room and you have to do what you have to do. And we listen to music, we put music on, we, try to put on an outfit and certain shoes, and we try to be some type of performer, which we essentially are because we clock out. And I think a lot of women are not honest about this. There's an addiction to being so vain and in your body that you get this high off of satisfying someone to the point where they're begging you to stop. And this slowly, the better you get, the more dead inside you get. And this is why a lot of porn people, strippers, or just hypersexual women, who've gone astray, have problems later on in life, and they eventually let their bodies go. They have, suffer with substance abuse. Thanks goodness I'd never suffered from substance abuse, but I met a lot who have. And for new people who are viewers, I have family members who are involved in those industries, okay? So I'm speaking from experience. I'm speaking from an American experience where we are so hypersexualized that it's exhausting and we're obsessed with it, right? I was definitely down that road. I let people take pictures of me. I let, certain aspects of myself show too much. I was very arrogant, very vain, very vicious towards other women who were less open. I was very rude and aggressive and hyper defensive of trying to justify my pretty much it is degenerate behavior. It really is. We have to look at it. When we're so obsessed with our looks, we start to want to steal other people's men. We want to have the gazes all on us. Our self-esteem is extremely attached to maintaining that gaze, and it's a gaze that can never be held. So it's a toxic illusion that you can never hold. Can you grab onto smoke? You can't. It's the same with the male gaze. Okay? And how much time women spend on their hair, their makeup, their plastic surgery, just constantly trying to keep up. It's exhausting, and it's never going to really work out because you could be a 10 and your partner could cheat on you with a 4. it's just not sustainable. It's not a sustainable model. And what I like about Islam is there's something very remarkable about Muslim men who can restrain their gaze and act very strong and just directly talk to you. And they have an aura about them of strength and fortitude and patience and forbearingness that is very unique. And the fact that because the women have covered some of their aspects of their sensuality, the distraction is put aside. And even as when I was a server, okay, if I'm a woman and I'm going to the table and a woman's just all out, it's a bit distracting, and I'm just trying to take her food order, and I'm just like, oh god, jeez. We have to be honest about what it is. And indeed, some girls deny the fact that they are addicted to that attention, and they suffer with a lot of depression and anxiety because they constantly need that feedback loop. That feedback loop. It's, I want to show. Where's the validation? It doesn't come. Oh, I must be ugly. And then it comes, and they're like, and it lasts about 3 seconds of a high feeling, and then it goes away. And Muslim women, I've noticed, have put that vanity aside. They've put it aside, and it's just, you're talking to someone's consciousness. You're talking to someone's character, right? They've let go of the vain side of life, and they just talk to you. They chop it up with you, and this is something very remarkable, is because since they've put that idle pursuit to the side and just focused on their spirituality and becoming a better person and not just overly vain, it's helped them a lot. Indeed, you may think I'm being very harsh on our own culture, but look at how today you have very young age of girls, sometimes even younger than 10, are in booty shorts, right? We complain that there's a bunch of pedophiles in our culture, but we offer up eye candy for really gross men who are highly addicted to pornography, right? And we're wondering why marriages are failing and why women are making huge reports of more depression and marriages can't last. It's we got sexes everywhere. And there's so much sex in the world, at least in specifically America. We've come sort of immune to it, but overly stimulated by it. The fact that you watch pornography and the images flash in your mind against your will, and you're like, man, I'm not even trying to think about that right now. It's just, jeez, man, just get out of my head. It can really put a lot of pressure on you. Now, a lot of immature people who haven't really developed beyond that, childish level, this sort of immature soul, are just like, yeah, pro porn, God is dead. They're very nihilistic, pessimistic. There's no help for them. They have to discover this journey on their own. But Islam is very fantastic for me because the really good Muslim men, if you don't have a father, which I don't, but they are your sort of guide. These strong, remarkable men who follow what they preach and who are wise, sage-like people who can guide you down a better path and hold you accountable for your actions. And it's nice not having somebody catcall you all the time. Whenever I go into certain areas, it's men pull over their car, they try to get out, they holler at you, and you're just like, man, I just want to go to the store. Like, you get tired of it after a while. American men are so overly stimulated by sex that they can't think of nothing but it, and they deny that they don't think this way. But even when I'm at work, especially in restaurants, the amount of sex conversations you hear, it's alarming. It's so much in the culture that if you're not having a perfect body, people are tear you down. They just shred you, right? It's very sad and disgusting. And what Islam has given me is a slowly releasing the pain inside of all the horrible years of damage of trying to seek out male attention, and it's made me shift it towards something much more lasting and higher, which is the Creator. And this may sound weird to some of you who maybe have never even thought about it. You're like, well, I see Jesus and I didn't really feel anything. I'm not talking about prophets. I'm talking about something much higher. And again, this might be hard for the yoga people because, again, they do a lot of sexual poses in yoga. Men go to yoga, they see women in sexual poses. You get more horny when you go to yoga than, it's a really kind of it's a great exercise, but come on, we know what's happening there and how many yoga instructors sleep with the women who go to their yoga places. So, I mean, of course, the yoga people are not going to get what I'm saying. And again, some girls are very hypersexual and they, anyone who wants it, they give it. But we must admit how we feel dead inside after that. We just, if you become just sort of a dominatrix type of just, you have to do more and more to get satisfied, and eventually nothing satisfies you. It's like eating ice cream just all day, and eventually you're just like, your taste buds just have no taste anymore. And you're like, this is not anything. And Islam has helped me to realize there is more to life than picking a mate off of looks. There's more to life than picking someone because they have money or because they simply tell me I'm hot all day. Again, it's sort of freed me from that shackle of having to be a constant sex object. We people often bash Islam for having women cover, but it's actually a relief. To me, it feels like a relief because I've toned it down. I mean, I've always toned it down, but there was a time where I didn't. And you get so much less harassment when you just, chill, and men will leave you alone. And we have to think about how dangerous it is for women to, not realize that it's a sad, depressing road. And indeed, we need to make sure we're not holding, I'm not trying to blame all men for their behavior. There's plenty of men who see women who are all decked out and they leave them alone. I'm not giving at all the argument that the woman is calling for it. What I'm saying, though, is we must admit the mental depression that comes with constantly trying to be sexy all the time. And a lot of women, we know this. So why are we going to go bash Islam for saying, hey, you don't have to do that? You don't have to. There's something more to you than your body shape and your features, right? It's hard. I know it's very hard for people who have never read one Islamic text or talked to any Muslims to understand what I'm saying. But what I'm telling you is, it seems weird at first. You put on, you cover your hair and, you wear different clothes and you stop wearing, Daisy Duke shorts. You stop wearing high heels. You start slowly shifting. And it's a mode. And I know how you might feel. It's weird how if you're not in tight clothes or you wear loose clothes, you feel fat. You feel less sexy and you get less looks. But what we have to do is realize you have to have more to your life than just getting a 10-second gaze from a dude, right? And one of the hardest lessons I learned is when you get pregnant and when your body has to repair after you've had your baby, if your partner is looking at pornography, if they're looking at other women, you suddenly have this horrible realization that sex is not enough to hold on to a man, neither is your beauty, and that you need to have something deeper than that. And a lot of us make mistakes of thinking because we're hot and we're very good in bed that would be enough to hold a man, and it's not, because there's always going to be someone, who can do better. So if we concentrate on character, which is what Islam promotes, you can definitely have a more lasting relationship and a more just smooth relationship where it's not constant sexual jokes, sexual innuendos. Those can be fun, as some people think sometimes, but there will come a day when you've let a man tell you too many sex jokes, and then you get a bad reputation, and then that reputation just follows you around, even if it's not true, and it's really hard to get rid of. And again, Islam has just really helped me to let go of that vanity. So I know a lot of people are saying that it's oppressive, but I would ask you to consider what I've said.